Nick Friedell's in our studio. Let's play a little game called Right or Wrong. Nick, here we go. If I said Donovan Mitchell would make the Knicks a playoff team, is that right or wrong?
Greeny, that's right, but where are they going? I feel like if you give up all your draft capital for Donovan Mitchell, you are signing your life away for a second-round exit. Tibbs will get him to play hard. That team will be pretty solid with Jalen Brunson, but that team is not built with him at the top to win a title.
So it's a little bit right and a little bit wrong if I'm reading you correctly. Next up is the Lakers. If I said they need to trade for Kyrie to contend, would that be right or wrong?
I can't even believe I'm saying this given what a complete mess Kyrie brought to that Brooklyn team over the last few months of the season, but that is right. Because if they don't have Kyrie to go with LeBron and Anthony Davis, they don't have a team that is good enough to compete. And with LeBron, it's all about titles. They're not good enough without Kyrie Irving. Pelinka's got to make that deal.
That one I agree with you. Finally, if I said the best thing for KD would be to stay in Brooklyn, would that be right or wrong?
That is wrong. There is too much drama in Brooklyn. I think it's too far gone to expect him to come back and for it all to work together, especially with the unknown of Ben Simmons. To me, Greeny, the best fit for Kevin Durant is in Miami. If you get him in that culture alongside Jimmy Butler, Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, that is a place that is built to get the best out of Kevin Durant.
All right. Well, so that's an interesting one. I want to play everybody, for those of you who weren't with us, what Woj said yesterday about the situation with KD and Brooklyn. Let's hear from Woj.
The Nets are still trying to find a deal for Kevin Durant. I think if Kevin Durant came to Brooklyn and said, hey, I've changed my mind, I want to be here, I'm committed to this, well, of course they would want him to stay. But if Kevin Durant's not doing that, you're still trying to trade him. You want players who want to be there.
So Zach Lowe with us this morning as well. Here's the part of this that I find somewhat confusing, Zach. Kevin Durant is a person, and you made this point on our call this morning, Friedell. He lives his entire life on social media. He comments on practically everything. But we haven't heard word one from him on this. Woj reported that he wants a trade. Beyond that, we don't know why. We don't know what the situation is. We don't know what would make him want to stay. So what are the circumstances now in which Kevin Durant stays in Brooklyn? How does that work out here?
Look, I think one of the reasons we haven't heard from Kevin Durant is you're not allowed to publicly request a trade. He probably doesn't want to get fined. But look, what are the circumstances under which he stays? One is inertia, which is what we're seeing right now. The Nets don't have a deal they like, so they're not going to do a deal they don't like. The second one is the scenario Woj threw out yesterday on the show, and I was watching that. And that's with Kevin Durant saying, hey, you know what? I'm good. I want to be here. The drama's past. Whatever reasons I have are now gone. I want to be with the Nets. I'm not sure that's going to happen. And if it does not happen, if he remains unhappy, if the trade request privately stands, I agree with Adrian that the Nets will eventually trade him because I don't think either side has an interest in a prolonged war here.
And so, Nick, we have seen KD and Kyrie as sort of a package deal from the moment that they packaged themselves and went to Brooklyn together. Does that remain? Is there a world in which KD is on the Nets and Kyrie is not?
Only Kevin knows for sure. But, Greeny, I can tell you, having been around that Nets team, that is their dream scenario going into next year. It's keeping Kevin and saying, we're going to build around you. You are our guy. The drama will go away, and it's getting Kyrie elsewhere, whether it's the Lakers or otherwise. And I don't think enough people are giving Kevin enough credit for being perceptive. He saw all that happened last year. He understood all the ramifications. And while he stood behind Kyrie at every turn publicly, I was told repeatedly the relationship is close, but it's not always as close as it appears to be. So there is still hope, certainly, in Brooklyn that they could make it work with Kevin. But nobody knows for sure if he would come back, and nobody knows for sure if he would come back and say, hey, Kyrie's back with me. The question that Kevin Durant is going to have to answer, Greeny, is why he attached the last 3 years potentially of his prime to Kyrie Irving. And no matter what happens the rest of this summer and moving forward in the next season, that's the question that will hang with him as his career comes to a close here at some point over the next few seasons.
It's exactly the right point, and it's an interesting one. Zach, give me a final thought on that. That is going to wind up being one of the most impactful and curious choices that any all-time great player has made that I can ever think of.
Yeah, we scrutinize Kevin Durant's choices all the time and say, what would we have done in his shoes? What should he have done? I'm not in the business of telling guys what they should have done. But to Nick's point about the Nets' dream scenario, I would tell you this. I would bet a lot of money that the Nets' dream scenario 3 years ago was signing Kevin Durant by himself without necessarily attaching Kyrie Irving to him. Kyrie Irving was the price of getting Kevin Durant. The Nets happily paid that price. I think at that time in 2019, they would have happily taken KD alone and built the team around him. That option was not presented to them, and so here we are today.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.